Welcome guys, gals, and pals. My name is Brooke, and this is Brooke Beams Big, where I share my expressions of joy. In this installment of the Sapphic Spooktacular, I will be reading You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kalynn Bayron after dark. This is a YA thriller inspired by slasher movies. Our main character has a summer job at a camp where people pay to be frightened by reenactments from a popular slasher movie, and our main character is the final girl, the one who survives at the end of the night. However, at some point during the summer, her coworkers start disappearing, they start ending up dead, and it seems like the slasher movie is coming to life, and her role as the final girl seems to bear a lot more significance. So she and her girlfriend have to figure out how to survive. Tonight is Sunday, October 8th. I will probably not be finishing this entire book tonight, even though it is pretty short, just because I'm only going to read for about an hour or so. But I'm eager to get started and get scared. Hello friends! It is now Monday night, October 9th. It is 9:20 p.m. so it is definitely dark outside, and I am settling in to continue reading You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. You'll have to pardon my wet hair. I am planning to curl my hair for a job interview tomorrow, so I am waiting for it to dry enough for me to put in the rollers. But I have my own high school summer camp t-shirt on to get me in the mood, and I am ready to dive back in. Last night I read the first 2 chapters, so I am 32 pages in. Not that far, not that much happening yet. Just setup, we're introduced to the camp, the concept, the characters, and a few minor things are happening. There are some red flags that the characters are not yet noticing, but we as readers, with the knowledge that something is going to go down, can clock them. I have less than 200 pages to go, so we'll see how far I get tonight with time and potentially terror. Okay, so I just finished reading chapter 4, which means I'm on page 62, and that last chapter was a little scary. Up until now, small things have been happening that I think will lead to big things later. Like, some of the coworkers have just mysteriously no-showed. But apparently that's a common occurrence at this camp, that people just up and quit. So they think, oh, they've just quit and they've left. They're not missing or anything. And there's strange shapes in the lake. But then you look again and they're gone. Stuff like that. Oh, but no, this last chapter, that was scary. That was scary, and I feel like it's gonna come back to haunt us. It is now Tuesday, October 10th. Last night I made it through chapter 5, so I'm now on page 77, which means I'm about a third of the way through the book. Some scarier things have started to happen, as we discussed a little bit last night, but the shit hasn't really hit the fan yet. It is about 8 p.m. now, so I'm starting a little earlier tonight. So I'm hoping I can actually finish this book tonight if I keep up a good reading pace and get really drawn in. I have a feeling that once we start going, I'm either gonna get really engrossed or I'm gonna have to stop because I'm gonna get too freaked out. Because I was telling someone today, I can handle monsters. I can handle a bunch of people being trapped in a place, being taken out by a monster. I get really freaked out by real people. I guess because my brain thinks that's more realistic and it could actually happen to me, and I get spooked. So we will see what happens. Okay, it is now 10:25 and I am on page 155 and shit is getting real. I thought they were gonna find a dead body at some point. Yeah, and when one ends up dead, that still hasn't happened. But one of these girls, she real messed up. She real messed up. They were out in the trees in the dark. And she's real messed up. And now everything is scary. So I think the shit is about to go down. I think it's about to get intense. I have like 80 pages left. Really, I should be going to bed. But I think we're going to trudge on because I'm not really tired anymore. My heart is like all tense. So, guess I'm gonna keep reading and see what happens. Okay, y'all, I just got to the beginning of chapter 12, page 172, and the shit, it's hitting the fan. It's hitting the fan. We found the dead body. They finally realized that the coworkers that were no-shows, that hadn't showed up to work, are like missing, probably dead. They gone. Whew. Their body's probably in the lake. That's been my guess the whole time. And now all the bad guys are chasing them through the woods. So it's now 1 a.m. Finished You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. And that ending. Whew. I'm gonna talk about the book in more detail when it's not way past my bedtime. That ending. It was pretty crazy. I'm gonna have to tell my partner that he called it, because I was telling him about my book and he was like, oh, is it gonna be? And I was like, I don't think so. I think it's this. And we were both right, because there was like so much stuff going on at the end of this book. So much stuff. But like I said, it's way past my bedtime. I need to go to bed. I need to go to sleep. And I will be back after I've processed this to discuss the book with you in coherent sentences.
Slow down a little bit, reset. You know the sad thing? What's that? He's still dating her. You know the sadder thing? What? So am I!
Oh, hi.
If you just ain't got nobody, say you watch out.
That one got me a little.
Gun show. Big.
She just shook like popcorn at you. Oh, it's a giant mallet.
Thunderdome, yeah.
recap, wrap up, and review You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kalynn Bayron. I thought it would be appropriate to film this segment of the video in front of the canal behind my house, since the lake and the water are such a big part of the setting of this book. So enjoy the serene view while we talk about something very scary. Also, I am going to allow myself to discuss specific spoilers during this portion of the video, so you've been warned. If you're just here to hang out, to hear a scary story, to hear my thoughts on the book, feel free to stay. If you are interested in reading this yourself and don't want to be spoiled, get on out of here and come back for the next one. I gave a summary of this book at the beginning of the video, but I want to deep dive further into the actual concept of the book. This book is set at a summer camp, but it is also set at a terror simulation. Let me just tell y'all, I have no idea why people go to those things. Like, I get the idea of visiting haunted houses. It's fun to be scared a little bit. It's cool to see how people have set it up, the innovation and imagination that goes into them. Those are the kind of things that I went and saw earlier in this vlog. But if they can touch me, like, no. Like, that's a big no-no. No, no, no. No. I don't know why people opt into experiences where the people can touch you. I also think those places are just asking for bad things to happen because they're the perfect environment to disguise actual bad things in, because people are assuming that all the bad things they're seeing aren't real. And I think this book is genius for embracing that and using that as the whole concept for a setting. I think we especially see that explored in the scene where Nancy Keene shows up at the camp with a gun, and at first the players of the game don't realize that she's not part of the game, that she is like an actual threat, because they just assume she's another one of the actors. So that's the setting and setup, but of course that can only take us so far in a book, and plot and pacing are gonna carry us a lot farther. I have admitted already that I am not a horror girly, I am not a slasher girly, so I obviously do not have a lot of knowledge about how these things are usually paced, about what usually happens, the kind of tropes that happen beyond just general pop culture horror references, like don't have sex or the killer's gonna kill you. So this book at the beginning was a little slow for me. I expected it to have a slow start because you have to have that like normal world, normal environment set up, but it felt like at the beginning that not a ton was happening. I'll be real. I think the book jacket summary kind of set the book up for that, because the summary mentions a death, and usually the things that the summary mentions happen at the beginning of the book to set the story up. The confirmed death doesn't happen until like way back here. But disregarding that, I did enjoy the slow build of fear and terror. And I think Kalynn Bayron did a really good job at doing that, especially in a book this short. And even though off the chart scary things weren't happening at the beginning, I was never bored. Her writing style is really easy to read and it really carries you through the story. I will say that this is one of those books that sticks with you, that the feeling kind of lingers with you even when you're not actively reading it, when you're away and you're waiting to read it, and then even when you're done. It's one of those books where you feel a little out of place when you're not reading it because you feel like you should be here, if that makes sense. I don't know if anyone can relate to that specific feeling, or if I'm describing that specific feeling in a way that would make you realize what I'm talking about, but I think you can kind of get the gist. And it takes a good book to do that. Now, of course, the most exciting part of this book is the last third, when, as I said before, shit hits the fan. This is when people go missing in the dark woods. This is when people are calling and screaming for help over bad cell phone connections. This is when people show up with their guts hanging out of their body, okay? Like, it's crazy. And there's that fear of something following you in the dark, of if you go outside, you're gonna be exposed and they're gonna get you, but you have to go outside because you need things. People are gonna die if you don't. And it's just really intense, edge of your seat, wild. And it's great because Charity isn't the kind of character who sits around and waits for someone to save her. She is gonna go save people, and she is gonna go into the woods and find her friends, even though she's out of her mind, terrified. She knows that she has to find them because if she doesn't, bad things are going to happen to them. And I will say, not reading a lot of slashers or thrillers, that I did not expect who the bad guy would be and how this would end. I assumed Nancy Keene at the beginning with the gun would be a red herring, because I've heard those are common in mysteries. I also assumed that there would be like one serial killer monster out in the woods, but no, it was like everybody was a bad guy. There was like a whole cult of ritualistic sacrificers in the woods, which, by the way, as a person who's really into Batman and the Batman world, like them being into owls felt very Court of Owls, especially with like the whole secret society in charge of world powers aspect. Kalynn Bayron, are you into Batman? Ooh, that dog scared me. Hey, dog. Then you have the owner of the camp, who is married to the crazy lady with the gun, who wants to learn how to sacrifice people for power, and so he's also a bad guy out here killing people. And then you've got the betrayal of the camper. I cut this part out of the first part of the video because I wanted it to be more spoiler free, but my partner said to me, I bet it's one of the campers, and I was like, no, I think it's the guy who owns the camp. And how are we both right? How were both of those things right? How did he turn out to be that guy's grandson? And then we have Charity's horrible stepdad, who we know throughout the whole book is terrible. She mentions it, but then we find out that he sent her to the camp on purpose because he knew she would get sacrificed, because he wanted to join the secret society. Like, I feel like this book did such a good job of taking the threads throughout the whole story and wrapping them back up into all the bad guys. I feel like that was pretty spectacularly done with my limited knowledge. And then the ending, that was wild. That was wild because this whole book sets Charity up to be the final girl. Let's talk about the final girl concept for a minute, because that is a trope that I kind of understand, because even though I don't watch slashers, I do love a good B sci-fi movie where we're all trapped with a monster who's killing us. As I said before, I can do big bad monsters, can't do real life serial killers. And there's always, you know, like a final person left. And a lot of times it's a white girl. I don't know, because sexism and racism in media or something. But I like that this whole book was centered around that one trope, and also twisting it in a way because Charity is black. But then we get like the double twist because our main character fucking dies. She gets murdered. We watched her get murdered. And her girlfriend turns out to be the final girl. That twist was crazy. Okay, maybe some of y'all saw that who like read this kind of thing often, but I was like, damn. And then the epilogue. Okay, now that we're there, I want to talk about, because this is the Sapphic Spooktacular, we got to talk about the Sapphic elements. Obviously, Charity and Bezzy are Sapphic. These fish and these ducks are out here freaking me out. Just because I'm talking about something spooky and it's kind of getting dark. But anyway, obviously Charity and Bezzy are Sapphic. I believe Charity is a lesbian. I think Bezzy is probably also a lesbian. I don't remember if they say exactly, but Charity definitely only into girls. They are pretty ride or die for each other. When Charity needs help, she calls Bezzy and she's like, hey, will you come help me help my summer camp job? Bezzy's like, bet, I'm gonna be there. But then I know Charity probably feels terrible about that when the shit starts hitting the fan, because she's like, damn, I asked my girlfriend to come up here with like cultist murderers. But let me tell you, she is dragging that bitch everywhere. Like, there's one point when they're running and Bezzy starts to fall and she's like, not today, and like swoops there, they keep going. She is not letting her out of her sight. She's like, we are both making it through this one. So I really liked that component, even though in some ways I felt their relationship didn't have a lot of oomph behind it, mostly because this book is so short and there wasn't a lot of time for like character development. We just know that Bezzy is someone who's really important to Charity, along with the other two girls in their friend group who are also at the camp. Yikes. But knowing that these girls are really important to each other, knowing that they are ride or die, really makes the ending have a big impact. Because even though Bezzy is the final girl, she ain't leaving her girl Charity behind, because she comes up with a plan to take down that betraying camper and use his body, the ritualistic sacrifice, to get Charity back. And the book literally ends with Charity coming back, so we have no idea if she's normal, if she's like a zombie, what she's gonna be like. But she's back, and Bezzy did that. She was like, I refuse to be the final girl without you. And I loved that so much, because we all know that bury your gays is a prevalent problematic trope, and it's a little unavoidable in this book where like everyone is dying. One of the other characters at the camp is a gay boy who does end up dying because everybody dies. But it was so great at the end that the couple made it. And like I said, we don't know what that's gonna be like because we don't know what Charity looks like. We don't know if her faculties are there since her body literally like climbed up out of the lake after a year of being in there. But they're together and they made it happen. And I think that is just an amazing message, an amazing representation in this fun slasher romp. That closes out this Sapphic Spooktacular episode with You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kalynn Bayron. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Like this video if I made you smile, and if you're up to it, comment something that made you happy today, yesterday, or even just this week. I would love to celebrate it with you. That's the end, friends. Sending you off with love. Goodbye!